As they go up 10%, they lose 15% worth of benefits. You go up another 10%, you lose 20% worth of benefits. It's totally insane. This valley of death trap that the government has set for people. It's really atrocious.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just a horrible, horrible incentive structure. So let's just walk through it here. The view from $35,000, the official poor. Okay, at this income, the family's struggling, but the state provides a floor. They qualify for Medicaid, free healthcare. They receive SNAP, food stamps. They receive heavy childcare subsidies. Their deficits are real, but they're capped. Okay, so they have health.
Yeah,
Now,
and they don't have to pay any taxes.
exactly, exactly. So what happens if you get a little bit of a raise? The family earns a $10,000 raise. Good news, right? No, at this level, the parents lose Medicaid eligibility. Suddenly, they must pay premiums and deductibles. So even though they gain $10,000 in income, their expenses go up more than $10,000, $10,500, let's say. So the net result is they're poorer than before. So this is a tax on mobility, and that tax is over 100%.
Wow.
So if you keep going past 45,000, if you suffer through it and endure it, you get to 65,000. This is the breaker. The family works harder. They get promoted to $65,000. They're now solidly working class. But at roughly this level, childcare subsidies vanish. They must now pay the full market rate for daycare. So even though they gained $20,000 from that $45,000 level, their expenses went up $28,000. So they're in the hole another $8,000. And to your point, they have to pay more in taxes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it hurts to grow out of it. You're actually incentivized not to get a raise because you can keep more benefits by having a lower income.
If you chart this, and I did a chart in that video that is years old, but if you take the income minus these expenses, that valley, it looks like a valley in the chart. You're earning more and more and more, except your cost of as you lose these benefits, your actual income after you deduct the expenses is going down and down and down. Yeah. Okay.
How could you expect anyone to climb out of poverty when you incentivize them to stay there?
Exactly.
So we see some charts like this. This is from the article here, where it sort of looks on the surface like families are climbing out of poverty because of the broken official measure.
Mike Maloney says the U.S. poverty line is broken, still based on a 1963 formula, when food was 1/3 of income. Today, food is just 5 to 7%, meaning the real poverty line is $130,000 to $150,000 for a family of 4. He warns a valley of death. Traps $40,000 to $100,000 earners, where raises cut benefits faster than income rises, crushing the middle class through fiat inflation and CPI lies. Thanks for watching. Give a thumbs up and subscribe to Fine Metals for the latest insights.
When Hondas first came out, the first Hondas were like $800. They were under $1,000. I remember the Honda dealer. It was only like a block from my house with numbers on the windshield, and it was like $899 for a car. That it was only a little 2-cylinder 650 cc. It was a motorcycle engine in a car, but still, you could get to work in a car that costs less than $1,000.
Yeah.
And you can't buy a brand new car today it's somewhere around 20 grand. So 20 times higher to participate. Doesn't matter that it has airbags, and it's the participation. You either have it or you go without, which means you can't have a job that's more than a few miles away.
Yeah. Exactly. And inflation only roughly 10 times more. So if a car is 20 times more, inflation's only 10 times more, then the real price went up, basically. So
yes.
Yeah. So just to give a sense of the comparison here, to function in 1955 society, to have a job, call a doctor, and be a citizen, you needed a telephone line. That participation ticket cost $5 a month. Adjusted for standard inflation, that $5 should be $58 today, but 58 is not accurate because you can't run a household in 2024 on a $58 landline. To function today, to do two-factor authentication with your bank account, to answer work emails, to check your child's school portal, which is now digital only, you need a smartphone plan and home broadband. Like, you just have to have it. So the cost of that participation ticket for a family of 4 is not $58, it's $200 a month. So
$200 a month is the floor of that cost, though. So this is the participation ticket, not what the average person is actually spending. You're talking about broadband and the cell phone. And so most people are spending $250, $300, $350 if you combine the two. I know that my phone costs me a few $100 a month, and I'm spending $125 a month on broadband.
Well, the anger isn't about the goods. It's about the breach of contract. The American deal was that effort is proportional to security. So the real poverty line is 140,000, but effort no longer yields security or progress. It brings risk, exhaustion, and debt. When you are drowning and you see the lifeguard throw a life vest to the person treading water next to you, a person who isn't swimming as hard as you are, you don't feel happiness for them. You feel a homicidal rage at the lifeguard. We have created a system where the only way to survive is to be destitute enough to qualify for aid, or rich enough to ignore the cost. Everyone in the middle is being cannibalized. The rich know this, and they are increasingly opting out of the shared spaces.
Yeah, I would change that last sentence. It's actually that middle class that is suffering that knows it the most. The rich don't really know that valley of death. How much it costs to be a single parent and have your child cared for while you're at work is the poverty line, $32,000. That's so, oh man. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. It's really unbelievable.
It is.
The only thing that actually tracked official CPI was food, which
Well,
of course,
which is all based off of. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. So I don't know if it's by coincidence or what, but basically the amount by which the official poverty line is suppressed is about as much as it possibly could have been. Like, they picked the one category that increased the smallest amount in price.
Well, that category actually increases a lot because of replacement. Back in the 50s and 60s, they were tracking a pound of choice top sirloin beef. And during the Greenspan administration, it was replaced with chicken breast because beef was getting so expensive. They figured, well, people will eat chicken instead.
Yeah.
So, that's part of the CP lie. He's going by what the CPI says. He didn't dig. I mean, he did an incredible job here, and he dug really deep into this thing. But he didn't dig into exactly how the food that worked out correct. But if they were actually tracking food, would have been even higher. So because they've lied about the food through substitution, the poverty line is actually lower than it would be if they had been telling the truth, because the CPI on food would be higher.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so everything besides food, the inescapable fees required to hold a job, stay healthy, and raise children, inflated at multiples of the official rate when considered on a participation basis. And economists would look at this and they cheer. They say, oh, in 1967, only 5% of families made over $150,000, adjusted for inflation. Now, 34% of those families do. We are a nation of rising aristocrats. And where he's getting that from is the gray section in this chart here. These are the percentage of U.S. households with an income of over $150,000 or more. And you can
inflation adjusted.
Inflation adjusted. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so you can see it was, about 5% back then, and now it's about 34% now. And it does look like incomes are rising because this is inflation adjusted. However, if we look at that chart through the lens of the real poverty line, it looks like something like this red line, which is something I added to the chart. We started over here, like in the mid 1960s, roughly around 30 or 40,000, something like that, somewhere in this blue area. And we end the line just shy of 150,000, maybe 140,000, something like that. And so this red line would represent basically an increase, because it's going up to the right, an increase in the number of US households in poverty. So this tells a completely different story than the official government statistics.
So you're going from under 25% to over 50%. You're 60% is where that line ends up at, right?
Just about. Yeah, I eyeballed this. It should be somewhere down in the blue section to
But
just
it's more than doubled is my point.
Yeah.
And okay. This is a mind-blowing article. It really is.
Yeah, I agree. And poverty is a lot more widespread than we want to admit. So,
Okay.
The family earning $65,000, the family that just lost their subsidies and is now paying $32,000 for daycare and $12,000 for healthcare, is hyper aware of the family that's only earning $30,000 and getting subsidized food, rent, healthcare, childcare. They see the neighbor at the grocery store using an EBT card while they put items back on the shelf. They see the immigrant family receiving emergency housing support while they face eviction. They are not seeing poverty. They are seeing people get for free the exact things that they are working 60 hours a week to barely afford. So this setup breeds so much resentment, animosity, racism, xenophobia, hostility, hatred, anger, depression, all that stuff, all these just awful, awful things in society. And we can trace it all back to the monetary system.
In the late 60s is when we passed Johnson's War on Poverty. The War on Poverty got exactly the opposite results of what it was intended for. The blue line stops falling and goes sideways. I mean, imagine if it had continued falling. The red line stops going sideways and starts rising. Both, they got exactly the opposite results of what they were hoping for. So the War on Poverty started things like the SNAP food stamps, and all of the government housing and everything else. And so, like all organisms, humans take the path of least resistance. And it set a trap for all of these people. And then you said something recently, these lines would be up tilted if we were this is families with children in official poverty. If we used the new poverty line, you can take both of these and tilt them up even more. Then, yeah, right. The blue line would be rising. The red line would be twice as steep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So the War on Poverty was really a poverty creation act.
Yes.
Just like the Inflation Reduction Act is an inflation creation act, just spending.
When you're drowning, it's the people in the middle class, the people between 80,000 and 140,000 that have kids. They're trying to raise a family on that, and they're feeling the pinch right now, and they are being cannibalized. They're the ones that know it. The rich don't actually know it because it doesn't affect them. They're wondering why it's happening, as we all are, but they don't think about it all the time. Where the middle class family between 80 to 140, they are thinking about this all the time, and that resentment, I believe, is real.